Good evening, students. Today we'll be talking briefly about the climate of Texas. First, we need to cover our four big vocabulary words. Number one is weather. Whenever you're talking about weather, it's the day-to-day for how everything's going to be. The best way to think about that is whether or not I should bring an umbrella today. If you watch the weather, you'll always be happy about your day-to-day activities. Alright, so next up we have climate. This is something that happens over time. Now over time, Texas proves to be fairly sunny, fairly hot, and have quite a bit of rainfall, especially towards the coastal plains. Now keep in mind, climate is something that happens over a long period of time. It's like the pattern of the weather. Speaking of pattern, pattern is something that goes from time to time, and it stays the same all the time. Every day you guys walk into my classroom and pick up a paper, that is your pattern. This is the same reason that they say pattern whenever we're talking about things like fabric, or whenever we're talking about things like stencils, because it's the same thing over and over again. Precipitation is water falling to the ground in the form of either rain, as we have here. It can also fall down as like a snowflake, or it could fall down as sleet, hail, what have you. As long as it is water falling down to the ground in some form, it is called precipitation. Texas has a little bit of crazy weather, and it's all different every place you go. This all boils down to the fact that we've got three different things coming. First off, we've got kind of a warm breeze coming to us from the Gulf of Mexico. We're going to draw one jalapeno here because it's, it's just kind of hot. Not too bad. So from the top, we actually get a very cold wind coming from the Arctic, or Canada also. And this cold wind right here kind of contributes a little bit to our cold fronts, especially during the winter time. And then from the deserts to the west, we get a very hot wind. Whenever we mix our hot wind with our warm wind and our cold wind, all three of these cause Texas to kind of not really know which one it should go with. So it's essentially, whenever we look down at it, Texas is like a tug of war between three different winds. And whenever one of them pulls, it pulls the other ones with it. So Texas has kind of choosing between the three of them. So depending on which wind is blowing the hardest, for instance during a cold front, we'll get more cold wind. Whenever we've got a hurricane coming through, it'll bring a whole bunch of warm, moist air from here, or whenever we have rainstorms or tropical storms as well. But sometimes we'll also get that dry heat coming in from the west. So depending on which one that is kind of the weather we get, and it tends to shift back and forth all the time. In addition to that, climate also has to deal with elevation. So the higher you have your elevation, well, that means that you're probably going to have a lower temperature. Now, this is only if elevation itself is the case. Sometimes you'll be in a place that's highly elevated but gets a very hot climate because of where it's located. But in the case of elevation, go with the standard. The higher the elevation, the lower the base temperature. In addition, Texas sometimes will get natural disasters. These can include anything from tornadoes up in the north. Go with the old Tasmanian view for that one. So we'll get tornadoes up in the north. We have hurricanes coming down here from the south. And then we'll have droughts come in from the west. In addition, there are earthquakes, several other minor natural disasters. But keep in mind that Texas weather and Texas climate is constantly shifting because of how everything lines up. I hope you guys are having a great night, and I will see you all tomorrow.